Director of the ASEAN Secretariat. So Miguel, what are some of the key challenges and opportunities that arise when establishing and maintaining cross-sectoral or interagency partnerships, and how can these challenges be overcome?
Yeah, thank you for that very comprehensive question. I think we could spend around 1 day or 2 days just unpacking that question. I think we started to answer that question yesterday when we talked about mapping and navigating this landscape of ASEAN, because right now this is the platform where we want to explore and promote this work of ours on care work. On the challenges, we saw that there is we go back to the 5 R's. No? There's really a need for the first R to recognize. And yesterday we already saw that there are ASEAN frameworks that give us the mandate to do this. But there's a lot of work that need to be done. Maybe yesterday I promise I'll flash 2 more slides just on the partnership bit. No? Maybe we can pull it up just to bring us back to the ASEAN Comprehensive Framework on Care Economy. So what we're seeing now is that the 6 priorities, they correspond to or cover initiatives that are currently being undertaken by ASEAN sectoral bodies. So going to your question, each of these sectoral bodies, they have their own work plans, they have their own projects, no? But to the extent of how they understand that their work contributes to promoting care economy and addressing unpaid care work, it's not that clear. And secondly, how we can use these initiatives that are being implemented by these sectoral bodies, that's an opportunity, no, that we can pursue. But what I do want to highlight is that if everything is a priority, there's a danger that nothing will be done, yeah? Because everything is important. No? So, for example, in this room, if we focus, for example, on the strategic priority on enhancing social protection, leaving no one behind, which is the 5th strategic priority, I'm highlighting this because in this room and online, we have representatives from the ASEAN Committee on Women. And I also believe that there are representatives from the SOMSWAD, the Social Welfare and Development sectoral body, no? And also ACWC. So there are sectoral bodies that already are doing initiatives, undertaking initiatives on this matter. So that's where partnership can be pursued, no? And just 1 more minute, yeah, to answer that question. If we can go to the next slide. When it comes to other partners, no, I flashed in the next slide there. There's a bit of lag, no. There are actually ASEAN dialogue partners, no, like China, Japan, Korea, and a host of other partners who have this issue in the radar. But there's just the question of how to cooperate with one another, no, and the modalities, no. And maybe as a last point, I do want to highlight how we can engage more women's organizations and maintain this conversation and interaction between government officials and women's organizations. No? And I'm not referring to one monolithic women's organization, but you know, the diverse groups of women's organizations, no, that could be engaged at the ASEAN level. So that's an obstacle because we don't have that fully yet, but it's also an opportunity, no, when it comes to partnership. So I'll pause there. Hopefully, I somehow answered the question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miguel. And like you said, it's very complex. So one thing that I did pick out as like an immediate step that we can work with is building a collective understanding on what care is and how each of the agencies that you've mentioned can actually contribute to care, because it's not just any one agency's or any one line ministry's job to begin with. So like we discussed the whole of government approach, I think that can also be scaled up regionally. That regionally we also need a whole of ASEAN approach towards care, and maybe that recognition can help how their work interacts with care. And I also see private sector on your slide. So I'll move on to Shane now. Shane, how do you strike a balance between leveraging partnerships with the private sector while ensuring that caregiving remains a central responsibility of governments?
Myra, it's already in the morning, and the answer is short. We don't know exactly how to strike that balance. Unfortunately, I don't have a very good practice on this, but at least we are building that awareness and that understanding that we have to balance our intervention across what we talked about yesterday, the care diamond. Private sector is becoming an increasingly important partner for us at the UN, but we also want to make sure that all of our original constituencies are involved at the global level. We have the UN Global Compact. Some of you may be aware of that. We are working on inclusive businesses, and within that context, catalyzing women's entrepreneurship, for example. On care work, I learned a lot from our colleagues at UN Women on what they are doing in partnership with the private sector on digital care, and I think we have a lot to learn. What I had hoped you were going to ask me was a little bit about how ESCAP has forged some of these partnerships, and I had a slideshow, but I thought we could maybe shorten our remarks here and then make it a little bit more interactive. 2 more minutes just to say, it has been really nice to have this occasion, to reconnect with old friends, to make new ones in the room. Had so many nice conversations. I learned just over coffee break from our World Bank colleagues, some really good work in Indonesia with data that we can use in our advocacy efforts. And I was really taken back by the storytelling in particular presentation yesterday. So this is really a very important way to keep the conversations going and to march forward together and to build on all of our strengths, our mandates, where we are coming from. I think it's clear that we want to go to the same place. There was a last slide. I don't know if we could put it up, if you have the PowerPoint. I just wanted to alert you to the fact that the most comprehensive commitment by governments on gender equality and women's empowerment is the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. So I guess there are some really good things about it being an almost 30-year-old document because we have that awareness and understanding of it already. But the downside of that is also that in the last 30 years, we weren't able to get to more commitments. The care economy wasn't really thought about back in 1995. So there is, a real need to maybe upgrade this document, but we are somehow apprehensive about it at the same time, because if we do open up negotiations on a document like this, we might see a lot of regression on other points. So we are sitting in between these two chairs, and it's all the way at the end. I just wanted to make you aware that apart from the whole of government approach and the whole of ASEAN approach, there is also the whole of Asia-Pacific regional approach, in addition to, of course, the global level. This is not the end of this. There is this timeline at the PowerPoint. Yeah. Isn't this the one from yesterday? I have another PowerPoint called Panel 5. If it's not important. The important thing was just to mention that the global review and the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action is coming up in 2025, which means that at the regional level, we will have our review in November next year. So this will be an opportunity for ASEAN member states to come together individually, but also as a bloc to advocate for some of the very important and pressing matters for the sub-region, as we call it at ESCAP, because we are also having similar conversations with, for example, the countries of Central Asia, the Pacific Island states, North and East Asia. So as an example, when we convened this meeting, the Intergovernmental Review meeting 4 years ago now, the Pacific Island states had come together with a very strong united stance on climate change and how it was becoming an emergency. And this type of language emanating from our intergovernmentally negotiated declaration now has become formal language used in the UN. And so it has helped then in a number of other ways to create new entry points, funding opportunities for all partners to take forward the work on climate change and women's being impacted. So care economy is maybe one of the priorities that ASEAN member states on occasions like this would wish to put forward, because we now have this group of friends. We have a declaration, and coming from this meeting, we will also have further recommendations that is tailored to this region. So this is just some food for thought and ways in which that we as ESCAP can work in our role as an intergovernmental platform, convening you and making sure that your voice is put forward and heard by a larger audience. It was more than 2 minutes, but I just want, yes, okay, so if we could just go to the very end of this. This is it, yeah. So I just wanted to show here that we have had every 5 years since 1995 a review of the declaration, and it's a very comprehensive document. It has 12 thematic focus areas. In our last review, we sort of matched it into 6 of these. There was mention of the unpaid care and domestic work angle, but it can be important to make it even stronger. And we would also look forward to your contributions to a consensus-based outcome document on this occasion. Myra, thank you very much for your patience. Over to you.
No, thank you. This is very interesting, and definitely with the declaration, there's an opportunity coming up. And I think it's the right time to flag this right now, because kind of movement or influencing these processes does take time. And there's, from what I'm seeing, is there's 2 sets of consensus, one across ASEAN and then one taking it forward. So there's definitely like the right time to be talking about this. And thank you so much, Shania, for sharing that. Just moving on to, because again, Miguel talked about it's the process towards regional cooperation, and it takes time, and you need to strategize around it. So Sandra, what can you tell us about the Global Alliance for Care, and how can regional bodies like these play a role in facilitating strategic partnerships, and how have some of the collaborations you have undertaken, which you also talked about a bit yesterday, made a tangible impact to caregivers and unpaid caregivers? Thank you. Thank you so much, Myra. You can use this. This one should be fine. This one should be okay.
Thank you so much, Myra. So first of all, yesterday I learned a lot from all of the presents, and I think that's the first thing that I think about when I consider the Global Alliance for Care's work, that it's about we can learn from each other, we can listen to each other, and I think that the greatest virtue of the Global Alliance is that it is a community, a global community, first of all. That means that we are all in the same level, working in a horizontal way, even if it's multi-sector and there's governments there, and there's also organizations from the civil society and other actors. And the other thing is that the global call to action has to be done. And it doesn't mean that we don't recognize the differences of each region, but we have a framework. Some of this framework applies to the whole world. Some other framework is regional. And the only way to accomplish these steps that we have to comply to is working as a global community. So if I can show you a little bit more about the Global Alliance, as I just told you, if we can see the next slide. It was created recently in 2021. It was a result of the Generation Equality Forum. And Mexico is a co-chair of the Global Alliance for Care. And the principles of the space are the co-creation, the collaboration, and the collective action. So talking from a government point of view, this allows us to work freely, like free of all the bureaucracy that we carry on with. That this is one of the virtues of the Global Alliance. And next one, so we have a definition of care as the activities undertaken to ensure the day-to-day well-being of persons from various perspectives. And we recognize the 5 R's of care. We're gonna take a look on the 6th one that was mentioned yesterday, and which is very pertinent, and maybe in the following years, more R's will come, because we just are finding each day that we have to see care from a very comprehensive point of view. So one of the things that we learned, of course, is that care is disproportionately carried by women and girls who spend 3x more time on paid work. This is not something new. This is something that was mentioned yesterday, but just to show that we are sharing this perspective in the Global Alliance for Care as what we see as care. Next one, please. And also, this is the membership. It says there 130 members. It's now 134. It's growing really fast. I would describe the Global Alliance for Care as a very active teenager. Now that it has a governance, a body, and that it's just growing up so quickly. As you can see, we have the presence of 17 national governments, 17 local governments, 53 civil society organizations, 6 unions, 13 philanthropies, which is really relevant because we have some money here for the projects, to finance the projects, which is really a challenge for all of us, governments and other bodies here represented. And it also has 9 representatives of the private sector and 19 organisms, including UN. So speaking about private sector, we are in the process of building the criteria to accept new members of the private sector, to avoid, just companies trying to wash away sins from the past, and really accepting those that want to commit to become better employers and to really make a difference, the difference that we need to advance the care policies. Next one, please. And now we will see a little bit about the structure. So we have a General Assembly. We also have the Management Committee. That is the present Management Committee. As I was just saying, the government of Mexico is a co-convener and also a co-chair right now, but this will change eventually. So we will not be there forever. This will change, and other countries will be able to be part of the Management Committee. And what is interesting is that you can see there the presence of other organizations, such as IDW Fed, which is here present, and also the Wairo Commission, and also some unions. So this talks about the core of the Global Alliance, which is also to allow that the voices of the caregivers are heard and really make an impact in the decisions that we take, in the steps that we take. And this is something that really characterizes this alliance, that the voices are strong, that we don't always agree, and that is okay because this is a global community and we can always move forward, and we can always have activities and forums for all of the participants that just answer to their particular interests or concerns in that moment. The next one, please. So these are the premises of the alliance. I'm now too blind to be able to read that. So I didn't take that into consideration. So the first one would be reversing, thank you so much, reversing the current organization of care, which we all know was deeply impacted by COVID-19 pandemic, and it's just unsustainable. We have to really be able to reverse these poverty levels, this inequality, and the exclusion that COVID-19 generated to women. And the other thing is that we are all just seeing it as a matter of human rights from the human rights approach. And the human rights, we're talking about the caregivers' human rights as workers, and also of the rights of the people that receive care, and also the right to exercise self-care, which is something that women have been unable to do that much because of this just great load that care imposes on them. And also, of course, reduce gender equality, consider differentiated necessities. So this allows that this global alliance is multi-regional and multi-sector. We take into consideration the necessities of the different sectors that are here represented, and also the different regions, to foster the 5 Rs, and also to something very important, to promote co-responsibility, because of course the governments need to implement the public policies. They need to dedicate budget to improve these policies, or to just make them work. But it also implies a co-responsibility from the private sector, from the civil organizations, and of course also from our friends of the UN, which are working with us all the time. And one other thing, it's not a matter of families. I mean, we want just to erase that idea that care is something private and has to stay within the families. It has to be shared by the community and by the governments. Next one, please. So these are, we have a plan for 2023-2025. Which includes movement, which means that all the constituencies, including caregivers and care receiver organizations and all the others involved, engage in collective action to influence the care agenda locally to globally. Then we aspire to a narrative and cultural change, which is done because we are many actors working or making an impact in many spaces. And this means that this transformative agenda can be appropriated by other sectors, and we continue the social dialogue, and we make sure that the conversation takes place in all the fora that is available for us. And the other outcome is advocacy. So the Global Alliance has advocated to position the transformative vision of care in local, national, regional, and global agendas. And what I was just telling you, the horizontal learning. We have to contribute to capacity building, social dialogue, advocacy in a very horizontal way, involving all the sectors that are part of the Alliance. And also strengthening the structure, the operations of the Global Alliance, which is happening every day. Next one, please. So these are some of the strategies and priority areas. The learning aspect of the Global Alliance, which is just a forum, a space to exchange experiences, to exchange community of practices, data, and knowledge sharing. Then the advocacy at multilateral and international level, and also through cooperation. And the communication and cultural change, and also how we disseminate, promote, and make sustainable the Global Alliance. So one of the things that we always are asked as what are the ways to engage with the Global Alliance? What compromises or commitments does it involve? And the answer is none. You can come to the Alliance and give whatever you want to give. Maybe you just want to observe, maybe you want to disseminate, maybe you want to participate, maybe you want to lead, or you want a particular concern to be present in the agenda of the Global Alliance, organize, coordinate, and that is possible. You can come and do whatever you feel like you can do or you can do to contribute to the present discussions in the Global Alliance. The next one, please. So these are the recent events. We talked about them a little bit yesterday. So regarding the Global Grassroots Women Community Caregiver Summit, it was really, they were telling us that it was historic. This was the first time that the voices of the Global Roots community caregivers were being heard. In a space such as Mexico City, we received people from 23 different countries, And we really were able to amplify the voices of this particular group. But this doesn't mean that we will just stay with this particular group. We are now working on amplifying the voices of other sectors of caregivers, maybe more organized, such as caregivers under unions and domestic workers, and other people. And we are also learning about the differences between the caregivers, which is really important also to differentiate and to understand and to also find solutions for every sector. And I think that's the last one. Okay, so these are a little bit of the upcoming events. As you can see, there's a lot of communities of analysis, and we're also trying to do something for the SDG in September, which is going to be a parallel event on the importance of data for care policies. And we work in many groups, but what I want to also say is that Philippines is the only country from ASEAN that is part of the Global Alliance. And we think from the Global Alliance that since care agenda is a burgeoning topic within the region, ASEAN countries can benefit from the platform of the Alliance for the regional advocacy efforts and to further position the care agenda in national, regional, and international spaces. Also, ASEAN countries can also make use of the alliance to generate and participate in spaces for learning and exchanging experiences about care policies, actions and systems, and think through policy innovations on care. What I learned yesterday is if our regions are very remote, but we are very similar. So this is just an invitation for you to take into consideration the Global Alliance as a way of just having a wider, richer conversation about care. Thank you, Mayra.
Thank you so much, Sandra, and maybe offline everyone can check in how we can sign up. What really stuck out to me was who gets a seat at the table, and just the management structure itself was very powerful in terms of how CSOs and trade unions and organizations can work together. So that was very exciting. Thank you so much for sharing, Sandra. I just, before we move on, I wanted to check if there are any questions. Maybe about the alliance, about private sector, about regional cooperation. Any online? No. Okay, then thank you so much to our panelists, and yeah, and I hope we have an exciting session right after where we have a lot of conversation on the recommendations that have been put forward. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya, and all the discussants for this insightful conversation. We will sort of move on for a short break right now before returning for our group discussion. For the group discussion, we'll be dividing into smaller subgroups. We were circulating a page yesterday, and I think we're doing so right now. Right next to your name, I would request if anybody still has not filled out, please write your first preference and then your second preference. So while you're in a break, we will make smaller groups, which we will then list out names and then divide you into those groups. And then also for the online participants, they will be directed to their respective breakout rooms. And then for the those attending in person, I will list out your names following this break. So we will take a short 10-minute break right now. While the word the group page is being circulated around, I think my team has some housekeeping announcements to make. Mainly, if everybody has registered at the front desk, in case you haven't for today, please do so. It's right outside the door. And I think the second bit is on the sightseeing tour again. If anybody has not signed up and still wishes to go, they can still reach out to my colleague at the end of the room. So if anybody is still interested and still hasn't signed up, that choice is also available.
Good morning, everyone. It's time for break. You can take a break and then we can get back to at, yes. We can get back to the room at 10. 10:30? 10:15? No. Okay. 10:15.เชิญพักผ่อนเด้ออาหารว่างเตรียมพร้อมแล้วอยู่ทางนอกเห็นไผยังนั่งอยู่
All right, everybody, we're about to begin the group discussions. Please make your way back to the hall. I think everybody's in. All right. So we're going to now start the group discussions. The group discussions on the recommendations on supporting and enabling a care economy in the ASEAN. The group discussion will have 5 smaller group discussions. They are all, the topic areas of each 5 of them are based on the panels we had in this event, 4 from yesterday and 1 from today. And we have, again, we circulated your preference, which group you would like to go into, and we have divided you in. So I have sort of displayed your names in accordance to the groups. The ones highlighted are the facilitators of that group. So please just have a look over your name if everybody can see it. And we can sort of divide the room. We'll have group 1 over here, group 2 over here, 3, 4, and then 5. So the facilitators can make their way. So Leah is the facilitator for group number 1. She's over there. Those under her name can make her way to her and her table if that's what you prefer. For group number 2, I am the facilitator. I just make my way down, but I'll be sitting there, I believe. So everybody who's under group number 2, please make your way to that table or this table. I think we'll come back to this table. Okay. For group number 3, it's Schubert. Schubert. I think you need to. Group number 3. My apologies. It's Laura. Group number 3 is on maternity protection. Laura. Those under her name, I think Laura, you might need to move because all the facilitators are on the same desk. I just realized. So all the ones in group number 3 will go to the table where Laura is in. You can come. I guess you can come here. Group number 4 is Schubert. Schubert, I think you would need to stand so everybody can know. So those under his group can go where I think Schubert needs to identify a table. And lastly, group number 5 from today's session is Myra. So okay, that's your table? Okay, group number 5. So we took into consideration your first preference and second preference. So those, if there were too many in one group, we went with your second preference. I hope that's all right with everybody. And now I would like to hand over to Shane so to go over the instructions of what we are going to do in these groups.
Okay, everyone, let's just settle down at the tables and then I will just take you through very quickly the next steps.
We will borrow your table for a moment.